Box one.
Did you not just hear it?
So there
Yeah, dropping the connect.
Welcome to
I
Great
might get
Circle
one
Comic
for
Book
Sunset
Club. This
Overdrive.
is Adam here.
If
We
they
got Travis joining me, and we also have
Sunset
Matt,
Overdrive,
Steve,
looks
Nicole,
fun.
and in just a moment we'll.
If they drop the price to 400, that means
Oh,
after
Steve's on his way
retail,
back. We got Joe as well.
they did
Unfortunately,
drive the
tonight
price
we will
for
not
100.
have Zachary, but we will be
we're live.
reviewing.
Yes, we are, Joe. You just talked
We,
over him
Saga,
the entire
Volume
time.
1.
I blame Matt.
We got written by Brian Vaughn, art by Fiona Staples. Good job, Fiona. Letters and design by Phonographics, spelled completely wrong, and coordinated by Eric Stephenson.
This is spelled exactly how it was supposed to be spelled.
Phonographics, F-I-K-S.
Yeah,
They spelled it how they wanted to spell it.
Yeah.
Well, that's neither here nor there. So this week is Travis's pick. He decided to go something a little bit outside the usual.
Haven't
So,
we been going outside
start
the
off with
usual
Travis.
pretty much for the last month?
Travis, why did you pick this comic, and what made you like it?
Well, I picked it because I did a Google search for the best trade out there, and this is what came up. That's literally what happened and how it came to be. And so I read it, and I really did enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite trade that's out there for sure, but the art is by far the best that I've seen. I really, really, really enjoyed the art, and that's not because there was a bunch of boobs in it either.
Sure.
Although that didn't hurt.
Yeah, it was more so the penis, the fact that there was a lot of that really drove that. No, never mind. But anyways, the crisp lines and everything was just really detailed, and it was really clear. It was just overall, it was really, really good art in my opinion, and the story didn't suck either. It was I read somewhere that it was a cross between Star Wars meets Game of Thrones, and I think that's a pretty accurate description. There's definitely a feel of a bunch of different story arcs going on, and almost a race to get to the focused couple, which are shit, I don't even remember their names. Marco and Alana.
And their baby.
Hazel, and Isabella. Anyways, very good. I'll go ahead and I'll pass the torch though. Let's see what Nicole had to say about it.
Anybody else find it weird that Isabella was a girl and she wasn't wearing any pants?
Really, Adam?
What do you mean?
She wasn't wearing any pants the whole comic. She's
Yeah.
like 12.
It was a little strange. Her entrails were kind of hanging out too, though.
Yeah.
That was a little weird.
It's kind of hard to wear pants. So
Yeah.
When you have no legs.
Yeah. Anyways, I really loved it, actually. This is probably, might be safe to say so far, this might be my favorite comic. I actually enjoyed it a lot. The art is absolutely incredible. But I loved the story. The story I thought was really great, and the characters, the character development and stuff going on, and I loved Isabella actually. She was a pretty cool character with her entrails hanging out, but I really enjoyed it a lot. Somebody else want to?
All right, Steve.
I think that this is probably one of the favorite ones that we've read so far. One of my favorites. I'm a sucker for anything that mixes sci-fi and fantasy together at the same time, and that's sort of like the whole point of this one is you have this race of people that it's an intergalactic thing with a planet and a moon, and they're two different species fighting each other. Yet it relies a whole lot on magic. Even the spaceship and at the end wasn't really a spaceship. It was more like a tree that shot off into space. But stuff like that, I thought it was really, really fantastic. I really liked the story. I'm excited to read more of this series. One thing that I did notice that sort of I don't know, I'm not sure what to call it, but art design, I guess, where in this one the royalty, they didn't really talk about too much why they're robots. I didn't I didn't really understand that part there.
I agree.
Hopefully
Yeah, they didn't backstory that.
Yeah,
I think it's just their race is what I accepted it
They're
as.
part of the robot empire.
Yeah, exactly. Like
It's a
they're just like
prerequisite of joining.
a race of robots. They didn't really explain the giant head with legs.
Yeah, the 1970s tube on their head.
Right. Well, I mean, like,
there were a lot of different races.
yeah, but like the girl with the wings, it's like, all right, she was of the same, side as the robots, and
Yeah, the Alliance, it would be nice to have a backstory for the Alliances.
Right. Although they did talk
they-
about the robots. Because
they
when the
kind
guy
of
mentioned,
explained
your ally, and he said,
There was a little bit of backstory.
whoever paid the most got the robots.
Yeah, exactly. And the robots were losing their status as being a force that can get shit done because they got ambushed, and that's why the king was making his son stay out there and find the baby and the two defectors.
But I would
See,
also argue, as far as a robot race goes, they're the most sentient, free-thinking, and emotional robots of any story ever created. I would almost say that they're human with a TV on top of their head.
Yeah.
I think that it was just like a
They do have boobs.
they're like exactly. They're pretty much just another race. It's not like that they're robots in a strict sense of what we in our creative thinking of robots. We think of robots in this literal sense that they're machines that are given this fake sense of life, but they're they're a race. Like Matt said, they're just another race that's out there.
Except they're called Robot 4 and Robot
Or IV.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was one of the things I liked about this comic. As much as it was a mashup of sci-fi and fantasy, it was also a mashup of just everything that is very common in our everyday lives. Like the guy was bitching about getting cell phone reception. Where else is someone bitching about not getting enough bars? I mean, that's a very specific thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and as a deliberate reference, everything I think about this comic is very deliberate, and I think it's in a sense that like they didn't even discuss. Remember how she was saying we only get our nanny at nighttime? And he even went into detail like, well, what about when we're leaving the surface and we're going to another place? What's nighttime there? We're at a different star. He's like, honey, we can argue the specifics about this, or we can get out of here,
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of this comic book, and that's what I really love, because that's what I really like about the Marvel Universe, what other people hate, and really DC Universe too, is that there are these kind of universes where you get hung up on everything that's happened before, and you don't really take the story as it is. And I really enjoyed this story for that aspect of it. It's just that it threw a bunch of shit at you, a bunch of shit. And it's kind of like, just take it. You don't have to explain all of it. Here's the important details, and the rest of the story, just go for it. And I really enjoyed it in that aspect.
But it does open it up for a lot of possibilities for different storylines. I mean, other than this particular thing where I feel like they could branch off, and I would love to read some of the other stuff, the past. And
I want to know more about the will.
Okay, well, let's hear the rest of Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, honestly, it wasn't my favorite book ever. No, but it's a really solid story. It's a great story, well drawn. It's an enjoyable, quick read. I don't have much else to say about it. It's a good book.
I think you had a little bit of something to say.
No.
Yeah, you had.
Okay, so what
bit.
didn't you like about it? Let's just go there, because it's
Yeah, let's
obvious
go.
that you
Let's get back
didn't
to that.
enjoy
Okay,
it.
so I suppose the elephant in the room. Well, really, it's not an elephant; it's a penis. There's a lot of penis in this comic book. I mean, really,
2 times.
let's be honest.
2 times.
You're referring to the next issues too, aren't
It
you?
was 2 times, and
Well,
they lasted.
There is the next issues
but
too,
is-
because Steve
is there,
certainly gave us a preview of the
is it one
next issue.
a little bit more
Not
than
Steve,
enough?
Sorry, Joe.
They substituted a lot of boobs,
That ogre,
What can
and
I
even
say?
girls with dildos.
that ogre penis
Shaped
was
like penises.
Yes.
pretty. It's a pretty intricate plot element. I just, you know.
And I mean, you
wanted
had
to
the
give you guys a
robot
heads up.
penises, you had the sex world penises. I mean,
But how much tits did you have? There was
there was
so
a lot.
many
I'm not saying there's a lot of
tits everywhere.
Yeah, pretty sure that orgy on Sextillion was like pretty much all
What's this double
male
standard,
and,
Matt,
like,
where it's
one
okay to
guy
have
in
women
there.
naked? but
There
you
was
throw a
boobs
man in
everywhere.
there?
You know what?
Comic?
It is a double standard. I would much rather look at boobs than penises. I have to
But you
confess.
judge the artist.
I think most people probably would.
Yeah, you have to give her at least some props for being a female artist and putting as much as she did. You know,
Yeah,
she could have just done
indeed,
one-sided.
indeed.
You know?
You
I'm
know,
just-
honestly, that ogre penis, I think that was a
That wasn't in
response
these.
because people were saying there's barely been any penis in this compared to tits. Where's the penis? So she specifically asked to draw a grotesque penis, and he wrote it in the script like, okay, here's the most disgusting thing I can think of, and
There we go.
she hit it out of the park.
We'll talk about
That's
this
pretty
more
bad.
on the next time.
I mean, because here's the thing. It's the first time I ever read a comic book that actually had penises in it. And so perhaps maybe I found it a little jarring because all of a sudden I'm reading a comic book and now all of a sudden there's penises. What can I
You
say?
need to read comics more, man.
Clearly I do, because clearly I'm missing out on a lot of penis.
There's a lot of dicks out there. All right, just watch out.
All right, Joe, go for it.
I already said. I mean, I've been reading this since it came out, and I was on the fence about the first issue because of Brian K. Vaughan. I really like a comic he did for Marvel called The Runaways, it ran for a couple like 2 30-issue runs or 2 20-issue runs, and then Joss Whedon wrote another version of it later, and that's a really, really good comic. And that's one of the only things I really read of him. But then I realized I bought a bunch of old comics that he'd written, like Mystique, and reading those, they were really good. And he went on to become a writer for Lost, and he writes for Under the Dome, and I kind of just fell in love with all of his work. And when this came out, it was this first comic that he'd written since he'd done a lot of TV stuff, and so I was kind of just on the fence of whether to get it or not. And I'm glad I did, because that first issue is worth like $100 now, and shit, I've been picking every single one up since, and other than enjoying it, they're kind of getting to be worth money. So I'm happy. I like Saga. Yeah.
All right, Adam, we'll finish it up.
Well, I think I will have to echo the sentiment. This was one of my favorites. So good job, Travis.
Oh, thank you.
I very
wrote it
much enjoyed
myself.
the story. I liked how awkward it was and the different components. And I agree that I really like when they throw in fantasy and technology, and not just have fantasy and technology, but merge them together. I even got a moment of excitement when they're taking off in the tree ship, and the tree ship starts blurring its alarm of magic detected, alert, magic detected, and then poof, friggin' whatever the hell they are just appears. So
Yeah.
it
Holy
was,
crap.
Her grandparents?
Which, yeah.
Her parents.
What a
Or her parents,
cliffhanger.
yeah.
Marcos, that was Marcos.
Sorry, Hazel's.
His
Grandparents,
parents.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
Hazel's
I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the art. I actually liked a lot of the characters and wanted to know more about them, even characters who were quote-unquote bad guys. So, like, I liked the Will. I wanted to know more about him.
Stock.
I was bummed she died.
Stock
She was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of some of the
And disturbing.
best
She
web
was-
comics I've read.
Disturbingly hot, though. She was freaking
Yeah.
cool.
All those boobs,
This
man.
had,
No.
See, all
She
the
was
boobs
cool.
counteract every single one of your arguments, Matt.
There was only 2 on there.
It turned into a creepy spider lady. I mean, does that one really count? I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Boobs are
They
boobs.
were probably the nicest
Even on a
boobs in the
creepy
whole
spider
comic.
lady, they okay.
She probably had the nicest tits out of the whole comic.
On a creepy spider
It's
lady.
the opposite of arachnophobia.
Yeah.
But even the humor that was in it was very reminiscent of some really good webcomics, where even the storyline is very similar to what you'll get in like some manga. How do you say it, Matt?
Manga.
Manga storylines that
Manga.
have a little bit more
Some call it manga.
visuals to it.
It's a potato thing.
No, I don't know.
But all in all, really enjoyed it. I definitely want to read further into it. I want to find out what happens in this story. I mean, this comic had giant war turtles.
Oh yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
So
That
all in
was
all, awesome comic, great story. It even reminded me kind of how you get wrapped into the story like you did with Morning Glories. And as a note to throw out to our sponsor, Humble Bundle, right now this comic series, Morning Glories, and a variety of other very good ones are on Humble Bundle.
No, they're gone.
It's gone.
We're on Humble Bundle. Keep your eye out for future packages.
Yeah.
But we didn't miss out. We got them.
Yeah, we did. That's how we viewed them. Because we got the Humble Bundle.
But this is one where I will read the future issues whether we pick them or not. So.
Yeah, I was a little upset when I was reading them and it came to the end, and I was like, next one? Oh, just kidding. I don't have that one yet. I was like,
I mean, I agree. It's a solid story.
And I've been waiting for a comic that's not afraid to tackle more adult items. So they actually have some of the more brutal violence, but not over the top like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. They actually have nudity, and this did all of that, but actually in a pretty well put together way, so it wasn't over the top. It worked.
Well, even you had like the Will that was in Sextillion, you know, with
his head,
girl, and that it was nice that he was trying to save her, and sad that it kind of didn't happen that way, but it was pretty exciting when he crushed his head in.
Because he's, out of everybody in the comic, he's the one who actually seems human. Nobody else is built like a human, but he is.
Yeah, I'm curious to learn more about him.
The guards are a bunch of the foot soldiers.
I thought they had
Yeah,
wings.
that's true.
I think they had wings.
Not all of them.
Some of them I don't think.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something like John Carter, and it's because gravity, and he's a human with super strength. Who knows?
I speaking on what Nicole said about Isabella, I really liked her too in her whole game.
Yeah, I liked her.
How they were, considered the horror or whatnot, and they ended up being just the whores.
Just a bunch of whores.
Yeah. Ended up being just a group of kids who died and they all look human too. Well, no, I guess they have kind of like a monkey features.
Some of them.
They don't have any. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have any noses. They don't have any nose.
Yeah, they're a little strange, but they're dressed as kids from Earth, where they got like,
little emo kids.
Yeah, little emo kids, exactly.
You want to punch in the face.
Yeah, they remind me of.
I liked her though. I liked her little snarky.
Nickelodeon almost, where they were like Hey Arnold or something. They were straight over there.
If Hey Arnold were cut in half with their intros.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting because those dead kids kind of give you a look into how brutal their world is and the sort of way the war has torn it apart. Because when you look at how they've all died, they're all pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they clearly had, some sort of magic to them too, since they were saying like, oh, well, you're seeing it like this because we want you to see that, so that they're kind of, masking the landscape and everything, so their land isn't taken over more in some parts, or like people can't go and find the tree ships and stuff.
Yeah. Joe, without spoiling anything, I just hope that we get to see Hazel grown up, in the future. In future issues.
Yeah, you do. I don't know if you're going to be as satisfied with how.
Joe, without spoiling anything.
I'm just saying. You do get to see her grown up.
But
I don't want this to come back and bite me in the ass when you see her grown up and you're like, oh, that's bullshit. She's not grown up. She's grown up. Trust me, that's
Joe,
not a spoiler.
you've already gone way past.
So she doesn't die.
So here's the line of
Yeah.
Go ahead,
But she's
spoilers
narrating
on
the
Thrones
story.
like
spoiling
that.
anything, and
says in the first issue,
Joe just
she can't
kind of
die.
went.
She says, "I got to live because of my parents." In the first issue, that's how it ends. I got to live.
That's true. She does say that.
I'm reading this when she's 10.
Yeah.
Well, that's why. But that's what he's saying. She grows up enough that she can actually.
She
write
could
that
be like
and say
Isabella
that,
and
but,
dead.
yeah.
Be dead.
See,
Maybe that's-
exactly. You have no idea what I'm saying, and you're already wrong.
But you know she lived on
Now
in
we know
some
we're wrong.
way,
Now
shape,
we
or
can
form.
find out. She doesn't become an
Now I spoiled it.
Yeah. You spoiled
Now I
it.
spoiled it.
Damn it,
Process
I
of
love
Joe.
elimination
that,
is ruined.
I love that all the things that she was saying was handwritten by the artist.
Yeah.
That it was in that different kind of scribble almost. I thought that was pretty a
Yeah, that
pretty
was
neat
super cool.
touch.
Well, it sounds like, in all, the group enjoyed the comic. The group would probably be interested in continuing the story.
Definitely.
And it was great. Any closing comments? Travis, it was your pick, so closing comments?
Highly recommend it. I wouldn't say it's the best trade out there, but it is a damn good one. Definitely in the top 10. And I think that if you are a fan of sci-fi and fantasy, that you'll really enjoy this. If you're a fan of good art, then you'll enjoy this. And yeah, just be prepared to read the next one because it leaves off on one hell of a cliffhanger. So that's all I got to say.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us again for Gray Circle Comic Book Club reviews. We will be with you again in 2 weeks, I think, and we will be reviewing whose pick?
Joe's
Joe.
Batman.
Joe's Batman pick. A lot of controversy around this one, so stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss it.
There wasn't a lot of
I might
controversy. It
miss
was just Travis hating.
I might.
It's just Travis hating Batman.
I'm not gonna miss it, Joe. I'm not gonna miss it.